Thank you very much for this opportunity to meet you and give you a congratulatory remarks on the release of the innovation roadmap that the steering committee of ICEF worked so laboriously for a year and a half period of time. And I thank you, Minister, Dr. Parliamentary Vice Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Dr. Hoesung. Thank you very much, and appreciate very much high officials from the committee, which have been so good supporting role for the ICEF initiative. As a member of steering committee, we are very much recognizing support from the government as well as the stakeholders around the world. I want to tell you briefly what we IPCC are working on now and hope to learn from you, if occasion allows, what you expect and hope for in our current work. As you know, formally, our main audience, IPCC's main audience is policymakers and not the general public. But however, increasingly we see a need to broaden the definition of policymakers and target the policymakers at the sub-national level or decision makers in other areas such as business, including the public-private partnerships. I believe ICEF is one of those leading examples of these public-private partnerships. But whether we define policymakers broadly or narrowly, we know that they listen to the public, non-specialists, ordinary people, as voters, taxpayers, customers, as students, as concerned citizens, or as actors in the community. IPCC, they want to have open channels of communication with various groups that are critical in the decision making around the world. We believe you play an invaluable role in communicating our findings, scientific findings, to different stakeholders. You can multiply, amplify our own communications to tell people about science in a way that goes well beyond our own very limited capacity. So it's important that you understand our assessments and how we prepare them. We want you to have the chance to interact with the IPCC so that you have a detailed and accurate understanding of what we are doing and can also contribute to it. It is important for us to understand your priorities and through you, the priorities of stakeholders you represent, so that our assessments can be truly policy relevant. We are currently involved in the most ambitious work program that ever undertaken by the IPCC and closely linked to the work of the convention and also very closely linked to the role of innovation in our aspiration of achieving a climate stabilized world. Let me tell you somewhat detail about our work program for the next 5 to 6 years. We will deliver 8 reports. This is unprecedented in the history of IPCC. Next year, we will celebrate a 30th anniversary. The scientific leadership of IPCC and technical support units for 3 working groups and also one technical support unit for task force inventories are working extremely challenging timelines to achieve this. But first, let me mention about the special report on 1.5. Early October next year, we will release the special report on global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. This report was requested by COP21 2 years ago. In fact, this special report on 1.5 is the first such report requested by the COP itself to the IPCC. And also, in conducting this special report, it is the first ever that all three working groups joined their intellectual capital in producing this special report. We never have done such a special reporting before. Previously, the one working group will produce a special report on one specific area, and at the most, two working groups join together to produce one special report, but never all three working groups join together. This report on 1.5 global warming will be extremely important for judging the world's progress on the goals of the Paris Agreement. And this report will be the main scientific input into next year's facilitative or Tawana dialogue. The following year, we will release two other special reports. One on the oceans and cryosphere, and the other is on land use. Many of you know the special role that oceans and land will perform during the rest of this century when the world will pursue this aspirational goal of well below 2 degrees C. This special report is specifically designed to answer those very pertinent questions regarding the changing role of land and oceans for us to achieve this very ambitious goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius warming. We will also update our methodologies. This methodology that the countries use to measure their greenhouse gas emissions and removals. By ensuring this is done on the basis of most up-to-date science, we will support the monitoring, verification, and reporting work of the Paris Agreement and help to build trust among the parties. We are very proud that this updated methodology report will be the science-based metrics that the countries will use in reporting their greenhouse gas emissions and gases and the emissions and removals of their greenhouse gases. Just recently, we closed nominations of authors for the sixth assessment report, and the IPCC working group bureaus are now selecting the experts who will perform the chapter teams. We are very keen on establishing a core writing teams for each chapter who will have important duties of finding major scientific understandings with regard to the key scientifically policy relevant questions in terms of how we implement the Paris Agreement. The three working group contributions will be delivered in 2021. And finally, in 2022, we will integrate all these 7 reports into a synthesis report that will be in good time for the first global stocktake that the parties will undertake in 2023. You can see all the detailed outlines of these 3 reports, as well as 3 special reports on our website. If you review those outlines, I believe that you would clearly notice that those outlines are all framed in the context of sustainable development. We strongly believe that achieving climate change, achieving climate stabilization go hand in hand with achieving sustainable development. We strongly believe that promoting climate policy is a way to pursuing economic development now, as well as in the future. Since we are looking at implementation of the Paris Agreement, we will be putting a much bigger focus on solutions in our report. But solutions go beyond just mentioning of technologies. We know our government want to respond to the challenge of climate change while pursuing economic development and efforts to eradicate poverty, that is sustainable development goals. Therefore, this focus on solutions also mean that we will have more experts drawn from the social sciences than in previous assessments. Let me give you just one example. If you look at the chapter 5 or working group 3 in the upcoming AR6 reports, there is one chapter specifically dedicated to the demand side of whole issues. This is the first time that the IPCC has allocated that much of a space for the demand side of these whole issues. We want to understand the economics and sociology of the decision-making related to climate change, and further, we want to understand what motivates people, communities, and companies and states to take action. In doing so, we want to identify what are the barriers to take ambitious action. We want to elaborate scientifically on those elements contributing to matters related to the barriers or matters related to the facilitative role of our society. For these 3 special reports, we have already taken up various process of assessments, and in fact, in doing this 3 special report, we have begun to rely much more on the expert contributions from the social science. But please remember that many more people from your community can contribute to the IPCC work. There are various levels that you can participate, and one level is certainly by being nominated as a lead author, but as well as performing that role, you can also help us by giving us the sort of a referee role, participating in the review process of our drafts. It is very important that many of you participate in our review process of our drafts, because that is the only way left to us to improve our quality of products, as well as to ensure the objectivity of our scientific assessment. We will have 3 rounds of review for every report. First by experts like yourself, and then second round is by experts and government, and the final round is government. Obviously, the summary for a policymaker, which is the final outcome of every report, is a joint output by scientists and government representatives. I have given you some details about how we go about producing our reports, because I want IPCC reports be more useful to your work. But whatever you do in your day job or other role you may perform in addition to your regular activities, I hope that you should be able to communicate IPCC findings in your own language to your friends, to the people you can influence through various means. It is very important that the true meaning of scientific findings be conveyed to all levels of decision makers, whether it be individual member like yourself, myself, or collectively to the community level as a whole. We hope that IPCC can be of service to you in your decision making for the times to come. For that reason, I am congratulating sincerely the release of these ICEFs innovation roadmap, which is a collective wisdom, output of collective wisdom of the many involved scientists and policymakers in this process. Thank you very much. My congratulations again to IPCC.